So if you're married or maybe in a long-term committed relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, that kind of thing, is it okay for your girl to have guy friends? I mean several guy friends, not just one, and not guy friends that happen to be gay. I'm talking about straight male friends. Is that okay for your girl? And if you are in that situation, what do you do about it? Hi. I'm Jeff Campbell from DivorcedParentsClub.com, and I'm glad you're here with me today. And the first question that guys often ask is, should I let her hang out with other guys? The short answer is, you don't want to be controlling. And if you feel like you have to be controlling in this situation, she's probably not the right one for you. So no, you can't tell her what to do, and you shouldn't try to control her actions like that. It's just gonna blow up in your face. A lot of women, when you say you can't do this, they're gonna try and do exactly that, just to kind of like fight against the totalitarian system that you're trying to bring down, and you're trying to control them, and that makes them want to do that thing. Most of us react that way, in all honesty, not just women. So no, do not try and control her actions. Do not tell her what she can and can't do. She's not a child. In theory, she's your equal, and if she's a good woman, a person of integrity, you shouldn't have to do that to kind of resolve this kind of issue. So the next question is it normal for women to have mostly guy friends? A lot of women mostly have female friends. And of course, we're getting into gender stereotypes here, and there's straight, there's gay, there's lesbian and bi and everything else in there. The issue does get a little complicated. But for this purpose, let's assume we're talking about a straight man and a straight woman who are in a relationship. And it is not normal for a straight woman to have a lot of straight guy friends. That's just not the norm. Often, and I'm going to add a caveat here, of course there are always exceptions, but often when a woman mostly has guy friends, and there are a lot of them that she hangs out with, and again, we're talking straight guys, a lot of the time that woman has low self-esteem, maybe the quote-unquote daddy issues. Maybe she didn't get a lot of love from her father growing up, or maybe he was totally absent, and so now as an adult, she's seeking out that male attention that she didn't get as a child. That doesn't mean that she's cheating on you, and it doesn't mean that she's doing anything inappropriate with these guys, but there is a possibility of inappropriate behavior happening. We're going to get into that a little bit later in the video. But essentially, if a girl has a lot of guy friends, it usually means she has low self-esteem from daddy issues, and she's seeking that male attention and validation because it makes her feel good about herself. Why is that wrong? All of us need to get to a place where we feel good about ourselves inside. We don't need someone else pumping us up to make us feel good about ourselves. We feel good about ourselves all on our own, no matter what anybody else thinks. So if she needs that male attention and validation to feel good about herself, that means she's got low self-esteem. And the best way to deal with that is, guess what? Not going out drinking with a bunch of single straight dudes, but getting into therapy and working on those issues and trying to improve the situation so that your self-esteem comes up. Real quick, before we keep going, if you like this video and you want to see more like it, please hit that like button and then smash that subscribe button and the bell notification button too. The like button really helps me grow my channel and reach and help more people. And if you have an idea for a future video, leave me that in the comments down below. So let's assume that you're a guy and your girl, again, could be wife, girlfriend, whatever, does have a lot of guy friends, and you don't want to break up with her, and you don't necessarily think that she's cheating on you. So what are some steps that you can take to address the issue with her, and maybe things that she can do to keep and maintain or rebuild the trust if it's already been damaged a little bit? Because let's be honest, when you're in this kind of a situation, it does make us not trust her fully, and it does kind of make us anxious and nervous a little bit, because it seems like the potential is there for some really inappropriate things to happen. So let's review some key steps that you can implement right now by talking to her and putting into place that will maintain or rebuild the trust, and that way you're not a nervous wreck every time she goes out with these guys, and she knows what your boundaries are, what your clear boundaries are that you're not willing to have crossed, and she can agree to it or not agree to it, and then at that point you can decide whether or not you want to stay with her or not. But I think these are some key steps that you can put into place right now in conjunction with her. So first of all, have her limit the hours that she is texting with these guys, or that they are texting with her. And my suggestion would be somewhere like 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. kind of thing. Most of us have conversations during that window of time with the vast majority of people in our lives. It's kind of rare for someone who is platonic with someone else to be texting at 2 in the morning, for example. So have her set a limit. Now, obviously, you know her hours and her style and when she's communicating with her friends. And if it's outside of those hours, I think that's okay. What it needs to be is not out of the ordinary with everybody else that's in her life. Then I also think it's crucial that some of the time, at least, she's inviting you to join them. It should never exclusively be just her and one other single straight guy every single time they go out. That's just not appropriate. You don't have to be there every time, but you should be there some of the time, and it's wrong of her to never invite you. I think another key is that if she's out drinking and whatnot and, out late at night kind of thing, she should never go back to his place to crash. I just think that's inviting trouble, especially when alcohol has been involved. And if she needs a ride, obviously, then you offer to come get her. But it's not appropriate for her to spend the night with a single straight guy friend, ever. Next, of course, is that she doesn't hide her phone. She doesn't flip it upside down. She's not constantly keeping it on her so that you're not seeing the notifications that pop up and things like that. And even if that's just kind of force of habit and she doesn't really have anything to hide, she needs to recognize that that is suspicious behavior that could trigger some anxiety in you. And she needs to be respectful of that in this particular situation. She needs to recognize that her actions are out of the ordinary and could potentially cause you stress. And if she cares about you, she's not going to want to cause you stress. Next, and this is huge and should be kind of obvious, you need to have met these guys and you need to have looked them in the eye and shaken their hands, and they need to know exactly what your status is with this woman. They need to know if you're the husband or the boyfriend or whatever your status is. If there's any level of exclusivity between you and her, they need to be crystal clear about that. That doesn't mean there aren't douchebag guys out there who would still try and fuck her, even knowing that she has a boyfriend or a husband. There are guys like that out there. But it's a serious red flag if they don't know who you are and they don't know what your status is. I was recently dating a woman. She had told me that she had talked about me to all of her friends, and one by one, when I started meeting most of them acted as if they had never heard of me before. And these were, generally speaking, these were all exes of hers or guys that probably did want to sleep with her. So it was a little bit of a red flag that, well, if you've talked to me about them before, why do they act like they've never heard of me when I meet them and shake their hands? But I guess, she did introduce me to them, so that's something. And the last thing that I think is important is that she doesn't engage in any physical behavior with them other than maybe a hug when she greets them and a hug when they leave. There's no kissing on the lips, that kind of thing. There shouldn't be anything happening physically that could potentially, cross a boundary or turn inappropriate. And I think she should be willing to honor that for the sake of keeping and maintaining her trust with you. The last thing I want to talk about is, even if you trust her, should you trust her guy friends? And the short answer is no, not really in most cases. Because let's be honest, guys, I'm a guy, I know. And I once had a really good friend who was a woman, and I never did anything with her, but I thought about it a lot. She was in a relationship at the time, and so was I, and I never did anything because of that. But I thought about it a lot, and it did cloud my judgment. If there had ever been a time where both of us were, heavily intoxicated, it's possible a line could have been crossed. And I think in retrospect, I should have stayed away from that situation, knowing how I felt about it. Now, it is true that oftentimes guys think about that kind of thing with their female friends more than the women do. That is true. And that should enable you to trust her. But these guys, if they are single straight guys hanging out with your girl, chances are most of them, if not all of them, want to sleep with her. That doesn't necessarily mean that they would put the moves on her, especially if they know about you, and it doesn't necessarily mean that she would allow them to put the moves on her if they did. But it does create an opportunity for inappropriate behavior to happen, and that's especially true if she's meeting them out at bars and there's a lot of alcohol being consumed. And again, if you're not often there with them, if it's just the two of them in a bar setting like that, it opens the door for inappropriate behavior. And I just think it's wrong to do that if you are in a committed relationship. Anyway, I hope this video helps you. If you agree with me or disagree with me, leave that in the comments down below. But for now, I'll see you in the next video.